Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with TPS, informal conversations with thought leaders in India and abroad. Today, our distinguished guest is ISSAC John Pattaniparambil, the senior most Indian journalist in the Middle East, and today leading one of the most popular English newspaper in the Gulf, Khaleej Times, for which he had worked earlier. Now he is again there. He has spent 42 years in the Middle East, particularly in the UAE. So today we will talk about the UAE at 50, out of which he has spent 42 years. So we cannot think of another person who knows UAE well to explain to us this miracle of a country. Welcome, Isaac. Good to see you.
Welcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, Pattaniparambil is a name I have heard right from the childhood. And that was a very famous family in my own hometown. So it's very easy for me to pronounce that name, but many people must be mispronouncing it. So it's a pleasure to see you and also remember the little town where we have come from. And you are in UAE and I'm in Trivandrum, but we have the same roots.
We also share the same alma mater, sir. Government high school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us what it was, what UAE was when you reached there once, and what is it today, and what are the big changes that have taken place?
Sir, it is see, I hate to use superlatives, but in the case of UAE, I cannot help it, sir. Over the last 42 years, while I have been here, I have been seeing the growth as spectacular. Every day there is something exciting happening. Every day it is changing, evolving. And now, before 42 years, when I landed here in Dubai, it was a business-focused, business-oriented center, but not very advanced in infrastructure way. But still, I could feel that undercurrent of vibrancy in Dubai. Now, 42 years later, see, it is breathtaking evolution UAE has undergone. That is the only word I can use. In every parameters, in every metrics, if you look at it, when it completed 50 years ago, or 50 years now, the thing about UAE is, it is future ready. It has already charted the next 50 years of its growth. So it is all systems go for the UAE to get into the next orbit. And in 50 years, their only target is to become the best nation on this planet. When UAE is going to celebrate its centenary year in 2071, UAE will achieve it, given its track record of exemplary accomplishments. So I will not be say I have no iota of doubt that UAE can achieve it, because in UAE leaders dictionary there is no word such as impossible. That is what our the Dubai ruler and the prime minister of the country always say. In our dictionary, there is no such word as impossible.
Right, but you might compare UAE with India naturally because you were brought up here and you went there. And 42 years ago, India was also not very developed. But in terms of the advances made in the UAE is much higher than in India. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir. UAE and India, we cannot compare because UAE is a land of now that it's only 10 million population, including almost 9 million expatriates. Almost 9 million expatriates. India, the case is it is 1,300 million or 1.3 billion people population. Here, UAE, the economy, relatively, it is only 1/5 or 1/6 of India's economy. Given the size of its people, it is still the second largest Arab economy, second largest Arab economy. Before COVID, it was the GDP was 421 billion, whereas India's GDP is almost 3 trillion, almost 3 trillion. It is touching 3 trillion. So that is there. But then again, when we cannot compare the per capita thing, in UAE, the per capita is $43,000. India, sir,
Yes.
how much it is. So there is no comparison. But on the other hand, this 50 years, no other nation on this planet could have achieved so much UAE could accomplish. See, in terms of now already in 50 years it has become a nuclear power for peaceful purposes.
Even
It has
space.
sent its
Space, right?
pardon?
Even
Sir?
space.
Space, it's Hope probe. It is called Hope probe.
Mars
So
probe.
this year it was in the Mars orbit. So it's a small nation compared to India, but India, and also you look at the background. India has at least some background, so many years of evolution, centuries,
Civilization.
even millenniums of evolution. But UAE is relatively, it is started from very scratch. Only thing which was fueling its economy was the oil, oil wells. But later on, that oil was just the physical infrastructure. Later on, they developed their software, that is their mindset. They became, first, they started to adopt or emulate other countries like Singapore or Singapore model. But now other countries are trying to emulate UAE success story
Right.
in every aspects, every metrics for ease of doing business, or in the vision of the leaders, the mindset of the people. Even see now UAE is looking to be a technology-driven economy, and it has already set out 50. It is called, they call it the 50, the year of the 50s. This 50 years, and for the next 50 years, they have charted out the principles of 50. That is 50 principles that will fuel UAE's growth and lead it to realize its dream, that is to be the best nation on this planet. And
You mentioned oil. Inevitably, we talk of oil, but Dubai as one of the Emirates does not have any oil, right?
No. Dubai has a little oil, but see, that is
Yeah.
why Dubai learned how to diversify its economy because of it started. So Dubai, in that way, is a trailblazer. So,
Exactly.
now 3 days ago, UAE became the first nation on this planet to announce 4.5 days only work. So, in order to balance for that, there are reasons. They changed their weekly holidays, weekly off days from Friday. It was Friday and Saturday to Saturday and Sunday, plus half day for
Friday
on
afternoon.
Friday.
Right.
So
Yes.
it is its integration into the world economy, in the world's banking system, the world's supply chain systems, world's communication system. So that is also a break from the past. No other Islamic country in the world would have dared that. UAE has
But
done
the
that.
others will now follow. Now the
Others
others
will now follow. That is why the UAE always show the way, leads the way, and and also over the last few weeks, it was there was a sweeping change in its laws, reforms. 40 laws, 40 laws have been changed to make it more future oriented, more people oriented, and more foreign oriented, so that people, because it is a melting pot of 210 nationalities. So you might have seen it, sir. It's amazing. So UAE is every day it is innovating. So innovation is driving UAE, and it is the secret behind UAE's extraordinary success among the Committee of Nations.
No, this is remarkable about this holiday thing because religion is very important in UAE and other Arab countries. And for them to decide to work on a Friday is really revolutionary.
So equally revolutionary or more surprising is cohabitation. Here, any girl and boy or man and woman above 18 can live together. So it is something very most advanced countries cannot even imagine. And also, UAE has amended its laws to make it in living together and in terms of a lot of other things. What are sweeping changes that it was unimaginable some 5 years ago. Why it is not happening? Because of the forward-thinking, pragmatic, and the very perspicacity relation with the perspicacity. They could see the future. So I am not, since I am sitting here, I don't want to use superlatives, but there is no way I can help it. Sir. This is the way UAE is uh, recording such breathtaking growth.
Isaac, you said that technology is probably the secret. But technology is not alone, obviously. There is a tremendous amount of human effort, don't you see? And the ability for the country to work together in spite of all this diversity.
See, they have diversified their economy, and now UAE has become one of the among the world's best startup ecosystem. Here, the startups are given a lot of incentives, and now it has already embraced for the fourth industrial revolution. It is ready for it. Is already happening. So it is giving a lot more importance to artificial intelligence, robotics. In a way, everything is innovation driven and technology driven. And so the best thing is that the leaders. This is the third generation of leaders now. So second and third, second generation of leaders, and they have already equipped the third generation, the coming generation of leaders, also to envisage the future and in alignment with the vision of its founding fathers. So the people here, when we compare UAE to other Gulf economies or Arab economies, very friendly people, very helpful, and they value the contributions made by the expatriates. Even though they won't actually every day engage with us on a daily basis, but there is a mutual respect they share, and they regard it for, especially for Indians. They are giving a lot of respect and considerations because Indians have been playing the pivotal role in building up the economy.
Absolutely. But the sense of discipline is another thing, I suppose, if you are looking for the reason for this magnificent growth. Because
Yes,
individual discipline and society discipline, you have worked in the social, cultural, and other fields in UAE. I know you are not just a journalist. And so you must be aware of the dedication with which they function and the hierarchy that they respect. One thing that we never respect in India is the hierarchy. We think that we are all equal and therefore, there is no need to give a particular person a credit for what he does. He happened to be that and I happen to be this, that kind of situation. But somewhat like in Southeast Asia or East Asia, you find a certain amount of discipline in the society which is quite hierarchical. And within that, everybody has the liberty to operate. And that seems to be the secret of the whole society, as I can see from outside.
Yes, sir. You are absolutely correct, sir. But then again, you cannot compare India's democratic traditions to that of UAE, where democracy is permitted, but in a very, very disciplined way. It is still under the sovereigns or the under monarchical form. But FNC, like for Federal National Council, there are elections. But still, it is not. We cannot compare the largest economy in the world with the UAE, which is an emerging economy. But in the next 50 years, if the way if we can take the fast trends and fast path-breaking reforms they have undertaken, we know that UAE is also moving towards that sort of democratic setup. But they like the UK system, where the monarchical form of government would be there, but at the same benevolent. What do you call the benevolent? I don't say dictatorship, but benevolent monarchical setup, because they are very benevolent and very far-sighted, and for them, people come first, and they also, sir, it is not surprising because they have enough fund. UAE perhaps has the second largest sovereign fund in the world after Norway. It's a sovereign wealth fund in one that in Abu Dhabi itself is a Muadale and Abu Dhabi investment fund. It is almost $1 trillion combined, and Dubai has other sovereign funds, and so it is also future ready and future secure. And you were talking about the social security and all that. This is perhaps the only place on this planet where women, they can walk alone even at 2 a.m. in the midnight or 3 a.m. without any problem. So safe and secure they are. So and also a lot of freedom as expatriates. If I go anywhere in the world, sir, I will have that urge to come back. After 5 days, 6 days, I feel I have to go back, get back to Dubai. So that is the magnetic power of Dubai, especially Dubai.
No, and also the people, we are not the most disciplined people in the world, the people from Kerala. But the transformation that takes place when they are there, so obviously, of course, because of the fear of the consequences, maybe. But somehow they transform themselves into a disciplined group. So it always surprises me, as they say in a joke. Once you get onto a plane and lands up in Dubai, you become a different Malayali.
Yes, sir.
That I think is the atmosphere. The atmosphere, you cannot afford to be indisciplined.
So,
There are many cases of indiscipline, but very few I understand as far as the expatriate community is concerned.
So you are correct, sir. You are precisely what you said is the attitude of Malayalis or Indians, for that matter. It will undergo a sea change as soon as they board a plane. Because they forget their whatever that freedom or the lot of freedom they were misusing. But here when they arrive, they are like very obedient, law-abiding citizens. Indians are most law-abiding than compared to other nationalities, because here there are more than 200 nationalities are living in Dubai alone. And so among them, if you look at Indians has a good track record for that compliance with the law, the regulations, the rules, everything. And they are also very hardworking. Pardon, sir?
No, the migrants from Kerala are not all Muslim, for example.
No, they're not Muslims, but still. And also another thing is that we all have, it is not showmanship, we all have that sort of emotional bonding with this country. So the country's every moment, every growth, when we hear that, we feel proud. That 40 years ago, when I used to visit other countries, when at the hotel reception they asked, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Dubai, UAE." Nobody knew at that time. Where is that? Is it near Saudi Arabia? Is it near Bahrain? But I had difficulty in explaining that UAE is one of the. But now, if I at the reception, they greet me with some sort of fascination and astonishment. Oh, you are from Dubai. And after some day, some people ask, is there any way we can get a job there? So that is the pulling power of UAE. So earlier, people used to compare UAE or Dubai with Singapore and Hong Kong. Now they are trying to emulate Dubai's example, the way it is. Every moment, every day, the landscape is changing, the skyline is changing, and its ecosystem is also changing. So it is a holistic growth which is beyond words to describe, sir.
There is even a building which has been constructed on the base of 3D printing, isn't it? There is a house in Dubai.
Also in 3D printing, also UAE showed the first building in the world, perhaps. I just got. I first saw 3D printing in France some 10 years ago. It was my first experience. But later, in 2 years' time, I could see UAE built a small building, 3D printing. That way, it is embracing this very emerging technologies. For instance, they are now becoming a master in this artificial intelligence, and that in alignment with this technological leap, the people's mindset is also changing. They are also becoming very future-looking, very progressive. And especially in the case of women's empowerment and all, how many female ministers, women ministers we have, and almost all the big projects, even World Expo, also is led by a woman. So that is the power, and that's the empowerment they are giving to women in general. And following UAE's example, in other countries are also giving. Even Saudi Arabia is also opening up. And another thing about UAE is it has also changed the political landscape, because no other country would have dared to go and sign a peace accord, Abraham Accord with Israel. We did that, then other countries followed, like Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. Other Arab countries followed. Many other countries are also, it is a time for them. They may also join this. So that way, the peace is there.
I was coming to the Abraham Accords because
Yes.
that is completely, the Middle East very well. So it has completely changed the landscape of the Middle East. You may remember in 1979 when Egypt signed the Camp David Accords. I was in Havana in the non-aligned movement at that time. Almost unanimously, there was a decision to throw Egypt out of the non-aligned movement. Can you believe it? It was only some countries like India, Yugoslavia, Cuba, etc., stood together and retained them in the non-aligned movement because the condemnation was so much that anybody could even deal with Israel. But today, look at this, and this, of course, probably we have to give some credit to Donald Trump because it was his son-in-law, I think, who managed to negotiate it, and we don't know the details, but at least he has been credited with that skill of trying to bring them together. And that has transformed the Middle East. Others will follow definitely. Because once you have a peace agreement with Israel, all these countries have signed, and then there will be no bar, there will be no restriction of any kind. Even other countries who are anti-Israel for various other reasons will start doing business with them.
Exactly, sir. And also, UAE is not. It is a peace offensive on that mode. UAE now just started. It has got or it has strengthened its relationship with Turkey, which was it was earlier. It was not well, and you also knew about that. You should be knowing that with Qatar and Saudi Arabia also they have they have both strengthened their relationship, and now they started a peace offensive with Iran. So that way, so on all these fronts, the UAE is taking the initiative. So with Iran, it is going to happen now.
Qatar was very recently normalized relations with Qatar.
Yeah, Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Yes, Saudi Arabia also there was some sort of. But yesterday, Saudi Crown Prince was here. He was given such a big red carpet welcome, and they strengthened their ties, traditional ties, and with Iran, that is one of the amazing things. After several decades of friction and one-upmanship, they are now looking at having a sort of talks again, so which will stabilize the region. And once the stability is back in this region, there is the UAE's growth will get into another trajectory, sir. It is not like that. It is not going to be like that. And it is its ambition to become the destination in the world, and it also has made a target of net zero by 2050. Like any other advanced nation, UAE will also achieve that net zero emission target by 2050.
But they may achieve even faster because the technology is growing very fast.
Because the nuclear
the energy is not a problem for them.
Yeah, nuclear energy, hydrogen energy they are developing, and solar energy. All this, every metrics, if you look at it, in ease of doing business, in startup ecosystems, in SME, promoting SMEs, and in technology.
Big change I noticed when it came to climate change was in the earlier negotiations. I used to be the chief negotiator for India in 1995 in Berlin, for example. The OPEC countries left the G77 and said, we have nothing to do with you. We are not going to restrict fuel consumption. Because our championship was reduction of fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. Said you are calling for our suicide if you are asking us not to increase fuel. So they walked out of the G77 and took a different position, saying that fuel consumption cannot be reduced. But look at now, this time in the negotiations, there was no OPEC country group which was fighting against reduction of fuel consumption. So that is the confidence they have. They know that it can be replaced. And I will not be surprised if UAE or some other country will come with the technology to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, even if we generate it.
Yeah, that is their target, sir. And they started building electric buses also now. And 2 days ago, a week ago, they announced a railway system connecting all the Emirates. And that is another thing, that is one of the 50 projects.
Dependence on oil, they are themselves reducing, right?
Yes, yeah. Dependence on oil. And also, God has bless them, sir, they have got the solar energy, their resources is abundant, sunlight all through that 365 days, there is enough sunlight. So solar energy also, they will be the #1 country in the world, the way they are investing in solar energy and other green energy. And
so their reluctance to, not to be dependent on oil, that was a psychological barrier earlier. And that barrier they have broken. That is
so they are very confident. Why? Because the world cannot completely be free from, or completely be, it has to rely on this conventional energy, that is fossil energy for at least for the next 30 years. By that time, they know that they will be able to have an equally balancing green energy resources like hydrogen technology. They are very far advanced in nuclear energy already. The first Arab country to produce nuclear energy. And solar energy, it is a lot of power plants, solar energy plants are already in operation. And the world's the largest solar energy field is also operational now. So that way, there is the UAE is, it is all systems go. For the next 50 years, UAE is future ready, and they are very confident, and people are very upbeat that they are living in such a country which is incomparable with the rest of the world.
Absolutely. I said, you have been a journalist there so many years. Journalism is associated with democracy and freedom, personal freedom, etc. So how did the journalistic tradition appear in UAE, and how was it when you went there, and how is it now?
So now there is a lot of difference. But when I landed here, and when I joined the Gulf News, there is another newspaper, one of the leading newspapers in 1980. See, there are only a few restrictions. They are very concerned about two, three things, or very sentimental or less sensitive about two, three things. One, religion, and religion and politics. That those days, the word, we cannot even utter the word Israel. We used to write Zionist forces or Zionist forces, and we cannot use guerrillas. For instance, Palestinian guerrillas we couldn't use at that time. We were forbidden to Palestinian freedom fighters. And to Israel, we can describe any other language. There is no problem. And Muslim, this religion, they are very, very, very sensitive. They are very sensitive about that. Then another thing was we were not allowed to use. Even now, it is not allowed. Persian Gulf we cannot use. This Arab Gulf. If it is Persian Gulf, once by some mistake it happened, and the newspaper was penalized. It was asked to close for a day or that day. A small, slight mistake. So that so sensitive was this kind of things at that time.
But how about international news?
International news
is easy to find in the local newspapers.
Anything we can. We can speak anything against Biden or Modi now. Any Western countries, but now since they have also stepped up their diplomatic relationship with India and other countries, so we have to be. See, we are here. People used to ask us, "Are you under severe censorship?" I said, we are not under censorship. We are given certain guidelines, right, and we follow that. We comply with that. So we are under self-censorship. Nobody has to teach us. So far in my life, 42 years, nobody has questioned me. Next day, any government interference or media, there is media council. They are very always watching everything. Because we know up to where we can go, we can travel. And also, there is no reason why we should criticize the government, because the government is so proactive, so positive, and so expatriate friendly. See, why should we go if there is no reason?
Unless you break the law. When you break the law, of course, yes, it comes down to like a ton of bricks on you.
Yeah, that is clear. Yeah.
That is the reason. And then let us talk about India-UAE relations.
Yeah, yes, sir. India-UAE relationship.
Because today we have a quad: Israel, US, India, and UAE. This was unthinkable some years ago, right?
So it was a landmark. The visit by Dubai's ruler and vice president and prime minister. I accompanied him to Delhi. That was in 2010 or something. After that, the turning point was the first turning point in that relationship. It went into a new trajectory. I mean, the growth. It was when Pratibha Patel came here. But then again, it was everything was the follow up was very slow. But the dramatic things started happening with the visit of Modi ji. Modi ji's visit, and before that, I think in the Crown Prince and the Deputy Supreme Commander of Abu Dhabi, sorry, UAE, that is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. He visited New Delhi. From those days on, it started rolling. And with the visit of Modi ji, the first prime minister after Indira Gandhi after 30 or nearly 30 years, he was the first Indian prime minister to visit UAE. So things started getting very serious, and it was starting getting everything is happening. Lot of bilateral treaties were written about, especially on this bilateral investment protection treaty. UAE's investment in India, Indian investment here are protected by that law. Then there are extradition treaties. Right? There are a lot of, I think, the scores of treaties were applied.
What was surprising was my brother was the ambassador at that time.
Yes.
That the impression people had about Mr. Modi being a Hindutva person, etc. Everybody was a bit nervous about it. How will it play? But they treated him as the Prime Minister of India. Nothing else came in the way. I remember speaking to Yusuf Ali on one of those my Videshi Vidara programs at that time. He said, we hate some countries for certain reasons, but still we work with them. That is the tradition in UAE. So we just ignore if there are any negative features. And here they found that there were so many positive features. There was anything being said about him did not matter to them. He himself was saying, it did not matter to me what his philosophy was. And that is a great experience, great approach to the multi-racial, multi-religious system of the world.
Yes, especially after Modi ji's visit, it is not only cemented it, it has taken that relationship to a higher level in the sense that, earlier, it was just government officials, bureaucracy meeting and making rules and or regulations and agreements. But here, that personal warmth in the relationship between Modi ji and the rulers here. So that was very apparent later on, And also it went into another level also, political level also. Earlier it was only economic, trade, commercial relationship and person-to-person relationship. But later what happened is at a strategic level. India became UAE's strategic partner, not only in trade and culture. India is UAE's first and second, sometimes first, sometimes second largest trade partner with bilateral trade, non-oil bilateral trade around $60 billion and everything, and their target is to make it or increase it to $100 billion. Anyway, apart from that, this is political and on the level.
The formation of the Quad is very important for US, Israel, India, UAE group.
Yes.
Like the Indo-Pacific. So this was unthinkable.
Yes.
That these four countries should be together, and that will mark a different phase in the relationship between India and UAE with US and Israel together. That's a remarkable thing. Nobody expected that to happen.
Yeah, that is a very unique security and in security relationship, because everybody knows India's strength and UAE recognizes that, and so India has become such a strategic partner because their goals are shared goals, shared ambitions, shared dreams, and everyone wants. UAE wants peace, and UAE is always on the forefront against terrorism, cross-border terrorism. So India is also very much focused on that, and Israel and US are not different. So this is this cooperation, very strategic and mutually its benefits to all these countries are, we cannot measure that benefits.
What role has the Indian community played in all this? Is that the positive approach towards the Indians in general? Has that played a role in India-UAE relationship?
That also might have served, but apart from that, India's emergence as a regional superpower. India is militarily, India is a superpower, and although economically we are way behind China, because we are not even 1/5 of China's GDP. Still, we aspire, we say that we are going to be a 5 trillion. China is already a 15 trillion economy. So we are now aiming for a 5 trillion in another 5 years, which is also an impossible task. I mean, at the rate of growth which India is experiencing now. Anyway, pardon, sir?
Particularly after COVID.
After COVID, India has to go at the rate of 17 to 18% if they have to reach that target, which is not possible, sir. It is only 12% growth.
Yes, policies are not to catch up with China, as it were. No.
Yeah.
It is to do good with our own resources. How is the Chinese influence in UAE? Anything visible?
See, they have been giving a lot of importance to China over the last one decade. But the reciprocity, I mean, I don't think that Chinese reciprocated in that same manner. That way, they were not that keen.
But are they part of the Belt and Road Initiative? They are.
The Belt and Road Initiative, UAE, I don't think so. UAE is part of it, but they are trying.
You don't need funds like that. Other countries go in for Belt and Road Initiative because
they need fund. That is why Pakistan and Afghanistan, Chinese is they are very aggressive in that way. They are giving them money and they are going with that Belt and Road. Belt and Road.
Like in Sri Lanka and everywhere else. Because huge projects are given as loans and then they get into what's called a debt trap.
Yeah.
UAE would not have been tempted by that because they didn't have any shortage of money to be sought from elsewhere. So it was projects that. So maybe the Indian presence in the UAE had a positive impact on India-UAE relations. Because if they know that Indians are generally good, they will also faith in India itself as a country.
Yeah, it is out of that 10 million which I talked about the population, 3.5 million people are Indians. So that is earlier it was several years, 2 decades, 20 ago it was almost 50. Indians were 50% of the population, or more than that. But still, we have such a clout.
Bangladesh and Pakistan have come down, have they?
Yeah, they have come down, and also their prominence. Because for Bangladesh, UAE is not issuing any new visas. Only those who have been here, their visas are renewed. Otherwise, no fresh visas have been issued for Bangladesh.
How about Pakistan?
Pakistan there is no ban, but still recently, there were a lot of, sometimes, the visit visas were banned for Pakistanis. Then again, so the relationship is not very smooth as it used to be in the early stages. Now, Pakistan,
for security also. UAE
security reasons also. That's also another reason. And because UAE and India are coming closer, and that was upsetting Pakistan, and also that was another reason why Pakistan and UAE were also not getting that. Yeah. There is some, but still, it is normal in front of everyone. It seems, it is apparent that it is normal. But there is that undercurrent of that mutual difference and differences there.
Did you ever expect that there will be a Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, never. We couldn't never imagine that. Yeah. Now, because UAE had set the way. See for that they started or they marked 1 year as called the year of tolerance, and.
There is a ministry of tolerance, right?
There is not a ministry of tolerance. There was a ministry. Now it is not there. Minister of happiness also was there.
Right.
So that way it is. But now, one of the temples, largest temples, it is happening. It is being built in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, sir.
It's a very landmark thing for its achievement for India, especially for Modi ji, because it was because of his influence and friendship with the relation it could happen. Now, recently, 2 days ago, one of the world's largest cathedrals were built. That was in Bahrain. So that way, the Arab Muslim countries or Islamic countries, they are showing lot of tolerance, and they know how to live happily or coexist with other communities and other faiths. So they are
There are other places of worship also, churches everywhere. Are there?
yes, in the all across all the 7 Emirates, it is there. In Dubai was the role model for that. The tolerance first, a lot of churches, and Abu Dhabi, all the Emirates, it is across all the Emirates. There are all denominations of churches, and in Dubai there is still a Hindu temple. Gurudwara is there. And two temples are there. I think.
Big temple.
Not very big, but this
So in
Abu
other
Dhabi
words,
is the new one is going to be
freedom
very
was always there. Religious freedom of worship was always there.
always there. From the 1971 onwards, that full freedom of worship was given, and the tolerance was even at that time. Now only it has increased. And learning from UAE, other countries, other Islamic countries are also are showing that kind of they are showing that kind of tolerance and friendship or tolerance to other religions and other faiths.
Well, no discussion on UAE cannot be concluded without talk about Malayalis in the UAE. And you are the global president of the World Malayali Council, and you are in touch with Malayalis all around the world. I'm familiar with your activities. You are turning that World Malayali Council into a think tank oriented, giving an intellectual content to that organization. That's very remarkable. But how do you find this, the Kerala associations in UAE compared to other places?
See, here Malayali organizations are very vibrant and very active. See, no other Indian groups or ethnic groups or any other nationalistic groups, like you take, for example, any other group, British or Americans, they are not as passionate about coming together or getting together just as Malayalis. It is in our blood, our DNA. So it is not surprising when the three people join. The first thing they will think about is to have an informal group or they will name an organization. Here, at least there would be, if you count, there would be more than 3,000 Malayali groups are there.
And these are registered? Are they registered?
No, registered. So that is the beauty of it. Registered, it is a lot of problems. We have to follow a lot of strict rules. Here, it is all informal. As long as we don't have any religious or political agenda, it is harmless. So for every village or almost all the towns, Kayangal Association is there, sir. We are going to invite you because you are you are the proud symbol of Kayangal. There is only you and your brother are the only IFS people there from Kayangal. So we are very proud of that legacy and tradition.
Yes, I have been to Kayangal Association in other countries. So
here it is very vibrant, very active, very active. So every college got an alumni forum here. So I am the chief patron of ACAF, All Kerala Colleges Alumni Forum. We have already 162 alumni groups there, in this group, this apex body, CAF, All Kerala Colleges Alumni Forum. So that way, and then there are all political organizations, INCAS, for Congress Party there is INCAS, for BJP there is IPF, and a lot of others. Then you name, there are hundreds and hundreds of small and bigger organizations.
And plus, the leading industrialists are also from Kerala, right?
Yeah, that way, yes, most of the leading Indian business icons, starting with Yusuf Ali, Sunny Waki, PNC Menon, the Joya Lucas, then so you name it, there are scores of leading Indian business tycoons are from Kerala or Malayalis. They are all Malayalis. So, and Devi Pirla,
that
for
must be
instance.
significant. That must be a significant aspect of India-UAE relations. Remember when the Sheikh Sharjah when he came here, he released several Indians as a.
Yes, yeah. Sharjah ruler released a lot of people, and our chief minister.
Some others also were released, and everyone was wondering what had happened. So that feeling of warmth towards Kerala was very visible.
Yes.
And from our side, whatever is the government in Kerala has always been very friendly with the UAE government.
Yeah, whichever government comes, for instance, the current government or our chief minister, Pinarayi Vijayan, he has been meeting with the Sharjah ruler and other government or ruling family members, and they have built a very cordial relationship. And when Mr. Umanjandi was the chief minister, he also met Sheikh Mohammed. So Sheikh Mohammed received him, and Sheikh Mohammed told him, we know that you are one of the India's most popular chief ministers at that time. Because you are having your mass contact program here in UAE. We are also having that mass contact programs, but not in that scale. So I witnessed to that statement, and even though Umanjandi didn't say this to the media, but I reminded him this is what also happened. Sheikh Mohammed said that. Then that is only then the people came to know about this kind of exchange happened between these two leaders. So Kerala always, among Indians, Kerala is also have a unique place in the mind of yeah.
And they like to come to Kerala.
Yes, Sheikh Mohammed said, I heard that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, our vice president and prime minister, he said, yes, I heard that you are blessed with your natural beauty is so much. You are a very scenic state, and I want to visit Kerala and see your backwaters and all that. He said that, but he couldn't make it so far. So, but I hope not in the near future. In the near future, he will come and realize.
Well, as the most prominent Malayali there, you must be having a special place in their hearts, I believe.
That way, it is not like he's a melting pot of media, and all the big journalists from across the world, all the big agencies like Reuters or Bloomberg, everybody is there. So earlier, we all know each other, but later on, they have grown to that extent. The interactions are becoming very less, and it is all through different channels. It is all through the media council, or there's a media agency which is handling there. So only this nowadays, it is only very few occasions only we can, or in-person meetings are allowed, especially after COVID.
And of course, COVID has changed everything.
Everything, yes.
Let's hope we will be able to go back to that situation. But I find in the Khaleej Times, for example, or any other newspaper, at least 2 or 3 pages exclusively for India.
Yes. We used to have 4 pages. Now, because of COVID, and even before COVID, you know that the economy, there was a slowdown. Even it all started from 2017 onwards. The slowdown was there. This only aggravated the situation, COVID. So we are used to have daily 100 pages or 85 broadsheet, 80, 90 or 100 pages. Now it has been reduced to 20 pages. So even now, those days, 4 pages were dedicated to India news coverage alone. Now it has come down to 1 page or 1.5 page.
But how is the COVID situation finally?
So COVID situations, that is an amazing thing. Here, most of the people got almost 4 vaccinations. I have taken 4 vaccinations, most of the people. And some people are getting their third ones, but most of the people, yeah. And situation, it is only now, it is only below 50. The incidents are only below 50. So it is totally under control. But still we are following the protocols and that wearing mask. And it is there, and the app is there, so we can show them that we have taken so many jabs. So there's the app is there, so it shows Are we?
It's still monitored very closely.
It is monitored very closely, but that is why World Expo is happening. Lot of and UAE is that shopping festival is going on, and at the same time, for the next 4 or 5 months, there are more than 40 big exhibitions and big global conferences are happening. So a lot of things are happening at the same time. But unfortunately, the traffic, the flow, the air travel industry, and because of the COVID situation in other countries, where people have to come from those countries, especially from China and all that, they were pinning much hopes on China, big traffic from China coming for the World Expo, which is not happening. From Europe, it is not happening. So their initial target was 25 million, to attract 25 million visitors to Expo, which at this pace of traffic, I think it will be very difficult to achieve. But let us see over the next 4 months how it is all going to evolve.
But the prospects are bright for UAE generally, in spite of all this.
Yeah, definitely. Any one country which is future ready and which is ready to welcome the new world order, it is UAE. There is no doubt about that. There is a new world order. We are resetting our life and we are entering a new phase in life, and UAE is almost ready for that.
You made the right choice 42 years ago. You were a budding journalist here and then decided to go there, and you will never regret it. But
no, I never regretted, sir. So I came here, because I was not getting a US visa, student visa from India. So somebody suggested that it is easier here. But when I came here, Iran hostage crisis was there. At the middle of Iran hostage crisis. You should be remembering that.
Yes.
From that day onwards, the security landscape of this region has undergone a very dramatic change, like after the 9/11. Like the security, So I was again denied the visa by US Embassy, and fortunately, I had that this postgraduate diploma in journalism handy. So I never thought that I would end up as a journalist. So I joined the Dolphins. I got a job. So that is the way my destiny has changed.
That is how destiny changes. And now you are the right man in the right place.
I hope so. I think I believe so, sir.
So thank you very much, Isaac, for spending some time with me. I know you are a busy man, and it was very interesting to talk about UAE, because this is a time when we are all celebrating the success of UAE, and as a partner in that, you have a big role.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
All the very best.